So I've got my recording going, and I think I've figured out all the ins and outs of getting it so I don't get the codec. So I'm excited about that. I'm glad that you're joining us today. I'm Heather Lamb, Smart Education Consultant, and you're here for the Smart Texas Virtual User Group. And I've started doing themes, trying to kind of focus around specific topics or specific ideas. And today's, I thought, I get a lot of questions about how can we use maybe some standards or C-scope, but your curriculum frameworks, your objectives, how can you use some of those resources to better engage your students, so you're not recreating the wheel, basically. So I'm excited. We were going to have Benita Jones joining us today, but unfortunately, she was taking her dogs out this morning, and I don't know if it got tangled up, but she took a spill, and her nurse at the school recommended that she go to the doctor. And looking at her face, I think that was a very smart thing to do. So I haven't heard from her today, so I'm hoping she's okay, but she will join us again. She is a teacher in Louisville ISD that really just has some remarkable things that she's doing. She's a dyslexic program teacher, but never fear, I had already asked John Meehan, and John was going to split the time up, and now he gets more time. So I'm pretty excited about that. I saw on today's meet that John has shared his where to find the resources, so perfect. Thanks, John, for doing that. So let's go ahead and get started. As we're going through this, I know some people are joining us, so we'll talk about how to come back and see all this information. But we are glad that you're here. So who am I? For those of you that are new to the Smart Texas Virtual User Group, I am the Smart Education Consultant in Texas, and working throughout the whole state now. And then I'm also share the state with my colleagues Sandy Hill and Luis Morales. So those two, the three of us together, we work to help you to support the whole smart solution, and how can we better help you to understand the products. And we work with the resellers. We're just kind of a great team, and as evidenced by all the stuff on this page, we've got we're on Twitter. And then I haven't done a good job, and I say this every time, and I'm just going to make myself a big task list to go in and check out our Pinterest page. I started posting some things, but if you haven't checked out Pinterest for some ideas, I highly encourage you to do that. I was pretty excited when I saw the Smart Notebook resources that were out there. We do have a Facebook fan page, and I discovered that you don't have to be a Facebook user to click on it. You do have to, any of the links will, when you click on a link in there, it'll ask you to sign in. So if you just do a copy and paste of the URL, then it'll go to that resource. So if you're not a Facebook user, there's another way to find out things and keep in contact. We also have, I was having some struggles with Dropbox, and so I'm still putting my content out there, but the videos were just kind of giving me a crazy headache. So I found out that I could actually go and upload more than 15 minutes, so I had to be in good standing, and I emailed YouTube, and they gave me whatever it is, the rights or something. So these videos are now, if you notice that bottom YouTube link, it used to be Smart Table Friends, so ignore the name, but instead of just starting over fresh, I thought, well, I'm just going to make it one so I don't have two YouTube things to keep up with. So if you have a Smart Table, here's a great resource. If you want to know more about the Smart Table, I've started back up the Smart Table webinars, so you can check that out. I uploaded that today, and then I will be uploading all this stuff still to my website, but just it's an easier way to get access to it. So those are, if you have any questions, if you want to know more about what I'm sharing, if you need to know about products and demos, Sandy and Luis are kind of your go-to people, but I can definitely help you any way that you need. If you have questions about anything that you want to know, like current things, I'm going to say this kind of more and more, but I really want to encourage, I like to answer questions as much as possible, technical support and things like that, but really and truly, I think that it's better if you have a minor technical piece that you need an answer to, I can probably answer that, or Sandy and Luis. But I'm going to highly encourage you to contact tech support and get those questions answered. And the reason is that they're going to know if there's any some bugs or anything, or they'll have the helps. Today I actually had to call tech support just about a question. I just needed some information, and they were wonderful and walked me through. And so I highly encourage you, if you're having some questions, sometimes computers are configured weirdly, and there might be a setting that's on your computer that maybe no one else has, or we've had some instances of some things like that. So I highly encourage you contact SMART directly for some technical support, especially with Notebook 11, some of the features and the functionality. So I just want to just kind of restate that and just say that they're your best line of support. So you can call it's just 1-888-42-SMART, or you can go to our website and we'll see there's a box that you can actually click on if you just want to email them questions. They're really receptive, so I want to encourage that. And then how can you participate? So a couple of ways. So we've got the today's meet going on. So John he's got the presentation that he'll do, and he says he's got a problem. So he was trying to download the somebody was actually, I think Lisa, I think, was trying, or Debbie, or someone was trying to get Lisa was trying to get the presentation. So John will be in, but let everybody know if you can get into it. So it's just todaysmeet.com/September SMART Texas. And this is a great, what a back channel is it's conversations behind. So if I share something or John shares something, and then you want to share the idea, that, so they're having kind of a backwards conversation, and I don't really have to intervene. John's got it under control. So I like that. If you ever do any presenting, you might consider having a back channel, and it's just that backwards conversation, because we're really just together. We're so much greater in our knowledge, and that's why I'm on Twitter. I think Twitter is probably one of the best professional development opportunities that I've had without having to do too much. So it's kind of funny, but sometimes I have Twitter on my phone, and so when I'm waiting in those places that, maybe I'm getting to-go food or something, and I'm sitting there with nothing to do, that's when I scan my Twitter account. So I don't technically check it ever on my computer. It's on my phone or my iPad. So it's a really neat thing, and all three of us are on Twitter. But you can, if you have any questions, you can use this question box to post your questions out there as well. If you have a question, maybe a technical question that you want to know, is this a question, Heather, you can answer, or do I need to call tech support, or you're just having some questions. And if you have a question about something I've shared, please let me know as well in that question box. So lots of different ways to participate. The other thing is, and we still working towards this, and I did find out I'm actually taking, most of you know this, I'm back in school. I'm actually working on a PhD, and it's a PhD in educational technology, and my professor said something kind of profound the other day, because I thought it was just, maybe it was people didn't like the GoToWebinar, but he said, people just don't want to talk on these kinds of things. Everybody will chat. Nobody wants to talk. So it was kind of validating to me that, but if you do want to talk, there is a raise your hand feature. So I'd love for you to raise your hand, and we'd love to hear your voice, because I don't want it just to be about me chatting. So the recording is being, it is being recorded, and it will be in your YouTube video, and then I'll post it on my website as well. So I've changed my website, and I think I put it in there, but it's just Heather's Digital Dashboard, and Heather's doesn't have an apostrophe. So I'm using this, let's see, I put that, I thought I had, that's not what I want. So I need to change this to September. I thought I had updated that, but evidently not. So you can see I'm using this great, oh, there we go. So I'm using the great new internet browser and inside of here. So love the internet browser, because I did it from my computer, but if you're at your smartboard, or your teachers or your students are at your smartboard, and you don't want to take the time to put a link, or to type a link, or to have to click, this will automatically go. So if you go up into the insert menu, you can come down and you can see that this internet browser. And what I didn't do, I think, before is this little button right here will actually pin that page. So when I come back to it, it will come back to the September, so you won't lose your link. So I like that. I think with the elections and different things, you know, a great piece would be to have two internet browsers up and go to compare and contrast. You can actually, and you might have to try this, I'm not going to spend the time today and I'll show this, but you can actually, say you have a site that has pictures or images, you can drag images out of your internet browser and place them on your notebook page. So you might have to try that and see how cool that works. So that's your internet browser, and it's just down here, internet browser. Oh, somebody just said, whoopsie, I'm not sure what has happened to that. So we'll get that. Love the internet browser. Oh, yeah, John said that. So I love it as well. So what are we going to talk about? Well, I talked about the back channel, and there it is again. I'm going to advertise. We've got those of you that have Smart Response. This is pretty cool. And one of the questions that I have, I'm not sure, we have a connector now, and it's for Eduphoria, and I'm not sure, Lisa, and you're the first one that pops into my head, I'm not sure if Eduphoria is typically a public school program or if private schools. So maybe you can educate me on that, and that's a question that I'm getting clarified. But I thought about that today. But we have a connector that actually will let your students use their devices to answer questions, a quiz that you've created in Eduphoria. So I'm going to talk about that. So our theme is those using existing resources, this curriculum frameworks, not recreating the wheel. So some of the things I'm going to talk about today is the camera tool. I'm going to talk about an import feature. It is a Windows-only thing that I'm going to show. Many times the Mac districts that I go into, they do have at least one Windows computer. I know that's not always the case, but I do think this brings really good value to not creating the wheel. So you can do it. You can't get the same functionality with the Mac. Now, saying that, I am going to have a session that I'm going to use my Mac, and for school, I actually bought myself a MacBook Air. So I'm very moving over into that environment. So I'm learning more and more about some of the things with the Mac. There is a picture functionality that the Mac has that the Windows doesn't have. It's a drag and drop functionality that's kind of neat. So for PDFs, I'm going to talk just a little bit about Smart Ink, and then I'm going to share the activity builder and a couple of other things. And then we do have John Meehan joining us. I'm pretty excited about what he shares. Is going to share. John is a Smart Exemplar educator that did get a chance to go to Calgary this last summer, and I got to work with him more. And then he's been on the webinar last school year, so he's got some cool stuff that he's going to share and hopefully be a regular attendee. And then, as I said, my website, I did have to change it this summer for those of you that were used or clicked and it says Mobile Me is now closed. So if you make note of my website, heathersdigitaldashboard.com. And then our next session will be October 23rd. So I'll talk about that and what our agenda will be. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So one of the things, when I think about not recreating the wheel, I really, I want to take parts or take wholes of objects or take wholes of pieces, websites, PDFs, Word documents, things like that. So one of the best ways for me to do that, and I think really many people would agree, is this cool capture tool. So it's a screen capture tool. This looks pretty much the same on the Windows and the Mac computer, and the only difference I believe on the Mac side is it says options down here, so you have a couple of other features, but primarily it's the same. I think there's only one button as well. I'll have to look back at that, but I did work with some Mac districts this summer. I think that's right, but that's okay, because you know what? I don't use those two buttons, and I rarely use those two buttons, but I do use this first button, this area capture, and I use this freehand shape capture. So I'm going to just show a couple of ideas. The other thing about this tool is the capture to a new page. So you have to determine when you capture the items, where do you want them to go? They are going to go into a Smart Notebook page, but do you want all of your pieces to go on the same page, or do you want the software to create a new page. So if I were doing, we're in this new school year, maybe I'm taking pictures of my students, I'm going to use them for some sort of an activity. I might want all the pictures to go on the same page. But maybe I'm taking pictures from a website or from some PDFs that I'm going to do some things with. Then I might not want them all on the same page, and I might say, ooh, let's capture those images to a new page. So you have to really determine what is your overall goal. So I brought up, and I'm just going to show you how easy this is. So I've got this Spitting to Survive. Doesn't that sound exciting? So this is actually something I found off the web. It's a 5th grade. It was some 5th grade curriculum. And it's a PDF. So there's a couple of things that when I start looking at this that I can do. So those of you that are on the Macs, you can actually take your PDF and drag and drop it right onto your notebook page, and you get just the whole image. So that's a really neat benefit to being on the Mac. And when I do the Mac session, I'll show that. But basically, you just would take, and you could take this. I don't even think you have to open it. I think you just take the drag and drop the image, and it'll open onto your page. So that's one way. Another way that if you're running Windows 7 and you have Windows 7 and your notebook, well, this is really, I think it's in 10.8 as well. There you can actually take and you can print your document out. So, but I'm not going to print a sheet of paper. I would print a sheet of paper for my students, but I'm not going to print a sheet of paper in the same respect. What I am going to do is, if I can get my little printer to, there we go. So here's all my printers. When you load the software, when you load Smart Notebook software and all the drivers and everything, you are going to get something called Smart Notebook Document Writer. And so what's really nice about this is when I choose that as my printer, this is actually going to print this document into my notebook page. So if I said print, I'm going to click OK, and it's going to, instead of printing out a sheet of paper, it's going to come in. Let me see. I think it's going to go to this one right here. So it's actually 3 pages. So let's see where it went, because I have another one open just in case. Let's see. No, I think it's still processing because it's asking me. It's going to ask me a question. It's supposed to ask me, do you want to tell it, do you want to print as an image or do you want to print as in part? So I think it's still kind of processing it. I would not do this in front of my students. This is my prep work. So let's see what it's still doing. Waiting. Well, we'll just keep going and we'll see what's going to happen while it's doing its thing. So what it typically will do is it'll bring up that, it'll print, and hopefully it printed. Let's see. Let me try that again because it's supposed to, and I'll check my things, but maybe it's, oh yeah, I have it in Document Writer. Oops. Let's see. Oh, there it went. I was just going too fast. So it says, what do you want to do? You want to print the image with notebook pages with images or editable objects? I'll be very honest. I haven't found a document yet. The editable objects work. So maybe you can try that out and let me know the trick. And I haven't really spent a ton of time on it because this one with the objects really works nicely. So I'm going to click OK. And so basically you see what's happening. Converting it. So instead of printing out that sheet of paper, it's actually going to print. And I know I'm taking a little bit of extra time, but I wanted you to see this because, and this is what is really valuable. So it's going to print here shortly. Oh, waiting is such, okay. Oops, I opened it. It opened. I can see that it actually opened. Oh, there it is. It opened its own file for me. So, but you see, what it's done is it's actually printed that notebook page. Oops, let me see if that's right. Yep, it's printed that notebook page into I printed that PDF into a notebook page. And previously we had Smart Notebook Print Capture. We had to change. If you still are running, I think, the Smart Notebook Print Capture, you can go and you would go to the Advanced button and say Print as an Image. With this document writer, you don't have to do this. A couple of things that I might do is I might lock this in place because I can, if it's like an object that I would move. But why would I do this? Why would I do this versus just maybe writing on the document? Well, some of the items that I might have, I might be able to use maybe my magic pen to, I know some of the new objectives for like the STAR test and stuff, I might be able to, that's not a good circle. There we go. I might want to talk about that this is the title or who is the author. So by putting stuff into Smart Notebook, I'm really raising the level of interactivity. I can also tell it, well, you know what, I want to zoom and I want to see the page width. So now I can see it even bigger. So I went up to the View and Zoom button for that. So just that's a couple of ideas for using a PDF. So we have tons of resources. I know people that use C-Scope have those resources available. I know many curriculum items have those resources. So just remember that's the Smart Document Writer or Smart Notebook Document Writer. And then another thing that I can do is, let me just minimize that, and let me go back to that PDF and let me actually, because I was trying to get too antsy, so let me close that out. So I'm going to come back to my camera tool, and what I might want to do is, you know, maybe I just want to really think about this first paragraph. So I'm going to use this area capture tool right here. And when you use the area capture, if you've not ever used it, what happens when you click on it, you get this the little plus sign, and you don't want to automatically click. So if you haven't figured it out, I don't use a mouse very often. I use my touchpad. And if you haven't figured it out with Smart Notebook, having two fingers and negotiating with Smart Notebook really will make your life much better, and it will be easier. So I'm using two fingers, and I'm going to actually left click where above, and I start off in the left-hand side. You can start up in the other corner, in the right-hand corner, but I think it's habit. And I'm going to be above where spit is. And I'm going to come across, and you can see what's happening is that's the paragraph that I want to capture. And then when I do this, it's going to say, well, it's saving the ink notes. Now, oops, and it will make a nice little page. And let's see, where did that go? Probably went on this page. Yep. So it went on this page. So now I can take this paragraph, and you know, some things that I might want to do, maybe I want to do context clues. So maybe I want to stretch it, and I want to maybe use my pen and mark over some words. Maybe I want to make a graphic organizer and maybe use this, let's see, maybe I'll use the shape recognition pen, and maybe I'll draw a square, and then maybe I want to start drawing about what do you know. So, oopsie, that's supposed to be a circle. I'm using my hand today. So see, this could be my quick graphic organizer. So without doing much of anything, I took a picture, and now the kids could come up to the board. And remember, it's not about your interactivity, it's about student interactivity. So what can the kids do with this? And you know what's really even better and cooler is, what if, how many of you know, and we'll talk about this in another session, but we now have the Smart Notebook app for the iPad. So let's say I create this, and it's all my information. You know, I could save this. I could put it out in Dropbox. The kids could pull it down on their iPads, and then they can interact with it. So that's just that's a neat way. So it's not something that's really pre-prepared, but there I go. And then the kids could send it back to me. I think that's really authentic learning, and I think that's where the iPad will actually complement and create that really neat collaborative environment that we're not seeing as much, or I don't see. I see a lot of skills in isolation or a lot of apps, but they're like all about me doing something. So maybe we take this and we create this and we have a bunch of dialogue. I send it out to my students and then they come back and they start really brainstorming. We send our brainstorms back up to, we email those and we have another conversation, another lesson. So that's the Smart Notebook app for the iPad. It is, the information's available on our website, and so we'll do some sessions on including that. But it is available, the app is available in the App Store, and I believe it's under volume pricing and all the pricing information, everything you can do. There's a lot of great reviews out there. So if you do a search on Google, you can find all kinds of stuff to tell you more about how to use that. So the other one, let me go back to my picture. So the other one is this, if I do this like spitting animal, and maybe I want to get a copy of this llama. Did you know all about this? Is just interesting about all these llamas, what they do. They spit, and they have reasons for spitting. So maybe all I'm doing with this is my shape recognition, or my shape capture. So I'm just going around it. So kind of a little photoshopping. So I'm just going to take a picture of just that. So I'm capturing out of it. And then it went back to, and there it is right there. So maybe I want to add that to my picture right here because we are talking about llamas. You know, maybe I want to even take this picture, so I'm adding a new page, and I'm going to drag that. Did you know you could drag and drop between pages? So now I'm just going to drag, oopsie, not stretch him. And now I could do the same thing. It's really talk about what is that llama? What do we learn about that llama? What do you want to know? What do you want to know more of? So at KWL, what do you want to find out about? So maybe some people, I know people raise llamas, so maybe there's somebody that you know or in your class that's a llama expert. Let them have an opportunity to talk about that because, you know, we can all learn from that. So that's just a really cool way to use that camera tool. So it's the capture tool. The other idea that I had was, so I've got on my desktop, so let me close all these files up. I've got lots of them here. So hopefully that made, so John, I think it's $6.99, but if someone maybe knows that, but, oh yeah, Eduphoria use Ector, I can see that, Molly. So they do use Eduphoria, so we definitely want to talk about that. And the information I'm going to share will make it very exciting. So here's, if you're using, this is, like I said, Windows, so I've got this leaf structure PowerPoint, and we'll see how fast this is going to open. So what I'm actually going to do, and I apologize, I had it open and then I closed it. So what I'm going to do with this, instead of printing my PowerPoint, now if you're on a Mac, you can print your pages, or you could capture your pages. So that's a limitation, not of the software, but of the Mac. So I apologize, and yeah, I mean, I've come into the same thing, because I actually have a Mac computer that I use when I do go into my Mac districts, and it is, but there's other really cool ways to work with the software. So basically, I've got this PowerPoint, and here's the thing about PowerPoints, and this has kind of been one of my main message about PowerPoints and stuff, is so, you know, sometimes we have PowerPoints and we have really great intentions. So I'm going to talk about Smart Ink. I'm not really going to focus on Smart Ink today too much. I'm going to wait till October and just kind of use it. But what we do with PowerPoints a lot is we have things flying across the page, or we have things, it's very linear. Now I know there's ways to make it non-linear, but traditionally the stuff that's in our curriculum frameworks, the stuff that we get off the web, very linear. And have you ever thought about our kids, I mean, does that really get them? Does that raise the level of understanding if things just fly across the page, or even if I'm just circling? So that's something to consider when you, because there's nothing wrong. When I take this, this is just content that I can go and there's questions. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to do something different with it. So basically, I'm going to go here, back to my notebook page, and I'm going to do new. So I'm going to get rid of my llama here. And what I'm going to do is up in my file menu, let's see, there is, I'm going to go, instead of file print, I'm going to actually import. So I'm going to import and I'm going to go find that PowerPoint. So you would need to have it downloaded somewhere. So this is going to take that PowerPoint, and it's actually going to bring it into Notebook. So I apologize, like I said, this is not a Mac, but you can you can use the camera tool and take pictures of parts of it and make it interactive. But this is a Windows feature. I guess it's a Windows. It's not a Notebook feature. It's a Windows thing. So basically it's doing, now this is a very short PowerPoint, and I did that on purpose because for time. If you had a longer PowerPoint, it's going to take a little longer to import. All right, and then the thing that happens is because Smart doesn't read that word art, so I would just type that. It has read it in some respects. Now, here's the coolest thing, is that, you know that before I couldn't do much of anything except write on my PowerPoint, basically. But now, watch this. You notice that some of the content is a little bigger, so I would fix that. But if instead of just circling and saying, can someone circle the word blade and tell me what's its purpose? Well, you can actually, these become objects. So I can take these and I could fix, I can fix the fonts and stuff like that. So that's, that's huge for time saving, and as well as making sure kids understand stuff. So instead of just saying, can you come circle it? I'm going to say, can you come and can you label or drag and then tell me its purpose? So that's one thing. Look at the next page. So like I said, sometimes the way the PowerPoint is, you might have to adjust it. But instead of these, I think I'm going to delete these, and I'm only going to show a few examples of this. So depending on how the PowerPoint is made will depend on kind of how it brings it in. But look at how cool this is with some very easy keystrokes. I'm going to select the screen shade, and I'm going to come down here and say, oh, look, waxy cuticle. I need someone to come up, and I want you to identify where is that waxy cuticle. So instead of using that creative pen or that shape recognition pen, I'm going to use the magic pen, and maybe I think the waxy cuticle is right here. And now I can identify where I think that is. You see how easy that was? So my son kind of brought it to my attention about his teacher that was, she hadn't had a lot of SMART training, and she was still using her PowerPoints, and I do get the question asked, what am I going to do with my PowerPoint clicker? And I politely would encourage them to put the PowerPoint clicker, the little clicker that will advance your slides, into the drawer. Because it's not really about just clicking and advancing those pages. It's really about the interactivity and what's the value that learning is bringing to your classroom. I always tell teachers, and you guys have seen me present, is you can touch it, you feel it, you own it. So that's what I think you get when that's the value of this interactivity. It's not just how much stuff I can put on the page, it's really just the value of it. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little few ideas of not recreating the wheel. And so that was the import feature. So we printed PDFs and we import. If I had a Word document, you can try printing a Word document as well, but sometimes when I have luck on Word documents is copying and pasting. So just a couple of other things, and then John, I'm going to send it over to John, is I was going to talk a little bit about Smart Ink, but because I thought, oh, I'm going to give John more time because you want to hear from him anyway. So I'm going to put in the website or on this page. If you want to know more about using Smart Ink, I am going to show it more in the October webinar. But if you do, if you search on our training and professional development site, and the link will be here, you can find there's 4 videos on how to use Smart Ink. I've had a lot of questions about Smart Ink. So basically what Smart Ink will allow you to do is, if I go to this website, and I'm going to use, so I'm going to choose a pen right here, and what Smart Ink will allow me to do is, hopefully, well, I'm going to use my tools over here, because that's why I had to call support today, because I think my Symposium is not being happy right now. So I can take this, and so I'm using my floating tools, and when I use my floating tools, notice how I'm able to write on this. Previously we had that white border, the ink layer would come up, but now what I can do is I can actually highlight that I couldn't use that copy and then add it into the but it doesn't have the interactivity, so they can take it apart. So this is one of the features that Smart Ink allows, and which is really nice because previously you had to close out the ink layer. You can still scroll down. Well, I could still scroll down. So that's a little bit about Smart Ink. So let's see. Love the side conversations you guys are having. That's so cool to connect. So we'll talk about that in October. I also just wanted to remind there's all kinds of widgets, and I found if you go out to the Smart Exchange or you've downloaded the new beta gallery, there's this cool widget that I found that's a puzzle, that you can make a puzzle. So I found that today. So you'll have to, if you go to the Smart Exchange and search under file type, there's widgets that you can drag into your My Content. So don't forget those are there for Notebook 11. And then next month, this is just kind of an advertisement. Next month, we're actually going to, it's going to be a make it, take it. So we're going to use the activity builder to make it and take it some stuff. Or some lessons, not stuff, but some lessons, some really interactive lessons. So with that being said, I don't see any questions. I see you guys are using the Today's Meet. If you have any questions, I'm going to turn it over to John Meehan. So let me put his, John is from Kerrville. John has the greatest lessons, and so I'm excited that he was able to join us. So I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'm going to change and make John the presenter, and I'm going to, let me make sure, John, that you are unmuted. There you go. So John, you're unmuted. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfect. I think everyone else can if I can.
Okay, great. I'm excited to be here again. It's been a few months, but this was quite the smart summer for me. I'm from Kerrville, Texas, so we're about 60 miles west of San Antonio, and I do all of the smart professional development for my district. And so we started the summer off with about 2 weeks of smart professional development, from anything from beginner training, intermediate training, to how to make things interactive, and you know, what they can do and where they can find resources, because that's one thing that a lot of teachers don't have a whole lot of is time. And so, you know, being a teacher myself, I know how valuable time is, and I know how time-consuming some things can be. To sit down and take the time to create content. And so that's some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about today, you know, kind of following up from the, not having to reinvent the wheel. And so first of all, I am a smart exemplary educator. I did have the most amazing opportunity to go to Smarts World headquarters in Calgary this summer, and got to work with Heather and 49 other smart exemplary educators from around the world to show kind of how we showcase and how we use the smart board and other smart products in our classrooms. With that, Heather, I wanted to mention very quickly with the embedded internet browser, with this blue pin button, one of the really nice features of this internet browser is if I save my lesson today and I pin your website, anytime I open this lesson up again and I come to this page, your website is going to be the first thing that's there. So I don't have to worry. If I'm reteaching the lesson, I don't have to worry about going through my bookmark bar and menu trying to find that one website that I used that I really liked. And so that's something that I really like about this this embedded internet browser, and it's something that with lessons that I teach, that I plan on adding kind of as I go. So next year it makes my life a whole lot easier to not have to look up those websites in Internet Explorer and Google Chrome. Here's my image, and this is kind of what I like to say, and what I've heard quite a bit. You know, that we need to work smarter, that we don't necessarily need to work harder. And we can do this by doing a couple of things. The first thing is when you create your interactive content that can be used for multiple subjects, you should save that content as a template, and then you're able to go back to that template and change up the content so that you can you know, you can use basically all that interactivity that you've put in place over again. The next thing is that you know, I've really found that novelty works, but at some point it wears off, and so you need to make sure that that when you're using sort of like a smoke and mirror trick, like an object animation or a pull tab or, you know, something like that, you need to make sure that that you kind of switch things up and more so kind of create mini lessons and combine those mini lessons to maintain that novelty and that, you know, that engagement with the students. One of the things that I've heard at TCEA in Austin is that teachers are thieves with responsibilities, and you know, basically teachers are willing to do anything, you know, to find free resources, you know, rather than take the time again that we don't really have a whole lot of to create it. You know, and it's silly for you to do the work that someone else who's willing to share that work, you know, has already done. And last, you need to make sure that when you create something that you're sharing what you've created. If you create some sort of content, any kind of lesson, you know, I'm sure that there are other people that would love to have it. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you're emailing it to a coworker, a colleague, if you're posting it on Twitter, if you're posting it on Facebook, if you write a blog about it, or on the Smart Exchange, you know, that's what makes these, you know, resources available for all of us, is the fact that that we're taking the time to share the material that we've created. These are a few ways that I engage my students in the activities that I make, and I'm sure that you've seen a lot of these before. And again, a lot of these are just kind of the novel little tricks that you can use to add interactivity to whatever exercise you're doing. The first one is an object animation, and there are two that I normally use. The first is a fly out, which means that when I click on the object, it's going to fly off of the screen and reveal my answer. So with this alligator, when I click on it, it should walk off the screen, and that reveals my answer. The other one that I use is fade out. So when I click on the object, it'll fade away and reveal the answer. The magic tunnel, this one's also been called the magic hat. A lot of times there'll be a little image there of I don't know, either a tunnel or somebody will draw a hat there, and what that does is just creates the effect of a change that's being made. So I'm making a little makeshift tunnel here. And what it is it's basically a contrast in the foreground and background layers. And so you'll take your question that's visible on the left-hand side, move it through the magic tunnel to reveal the answer. And again, all it is a contrast of background to foreground colors. So you'll have a background color that's the same color as the opposite text that you want to show. And the last one is the magnifying glass. And the magnifying glass, again, works with contrasting colors. With this one, we have 3 different layers. We have a background layer, a bottom layer that is the same color as my top text layer. And then in between those 2 layers, you take this, this white magnifying glass. And since I teach language arts, what I tell my students is that they need to be looking for answers like detectives. And so if I have an exercise on inferencing or something like that, we'll look with the magnifying glass until we find the answer. And then the last kind of reveal type activity that I have is a pull tab, and you can create these yourself. There are also lots of them available in the gallery tab that are, there are some that I think are interactive, and you're able to send them back and forth from side to side. With pull tabs, it's best to use these either on the left-hand side, right-hand side, or the top of the screen, because if you move them off the bottom of the screen, it'll just extend the screen and won't really hide what we're looking for. Some of the resources that I use, and again, I posted this to my website, which is mrsmarttrainer.blogspot.com, and in the back channel I was having some trouble with I guess with the link that I had posted, but I posted another link directly on to the back channel, and I think somebody said that one worked. So if you'd like to take a look at my presentation, it has all of these websites in the presentation. Here is the link here, tinyurl.com/bp6exzr. Some of these that I use quite a bit are Heather's digital dashboard to make sure that that I'm up with everything that's going on in the virtual user group and the Smart Texas group. And Heather is the best at content creation. She did a presentation for us up in Calgary, and it was amazing. She really knows her stuff. So if you've ever got a question, shoot her an email, and she's bound to have an answer for you. Another one that I use quite a bit, and you can use this again as kind of a sounding board, is the smartboardrevolution.ning.com. That's the website of Matt Granger, who was another SMART attendee this summer, and was actually a peer mentor because he was coming back for his second or maybe even his third time to the summit. And there are lots of people available in that group on Smartboard Revolution that might be able to answer your questions if you're looking for something for a specific content area. The next one and I'll go ahead and go over to it, is the Smart Exchange. And the Smart Exchange, I believe, just surpassed 1 million downloads, I think. Either 1 million downloads or 1 million members. And so there are tons and tons and thousands of resources on here for free that you can use in any area. And since this is the Texas users group, I'll show you this. If you're looking for a lesson or some content that's correlated to a specific TEK, right here on the menu bar, there's the standard correlated lessons. If you select that, and then we find the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, and then we select a certain grade level, let's say 4th grade math, and do view, it'll actually list all of the 4th grade math TEKs, and all of these that below the TEK say view resources, it will list smart content that has been correlated to that TEK. And so here are 1, 2, 3, 4 showing, and these are probably the 4 top downloads. But if you look right here, there are an extra 138 lessons that have been correlated to this one 4th grade math TEK. So that tells me that flipping through the rest of this, that there are just going to be tons and tons of stuff that that you can find and use to to present a pretty good lesson. If the content is not something that you want to use, you can. The nice thing about this is that you can kind of break down different lessons and combine them. So you can in a sense you can take the best parts from each lesson and combine them to build your own very very powerful lesson. Connected to the Smart Exchange under Community is the EdCompass blog, and the EdCompass blog is an area where smart users have the opportunity to share things that that they use and have learned and are experts on. And it gives them the opportunity to kind of share that with everybody else. Anybody can post to the EdCompass blog. Heather, I'm not real sure who the contact is. If you could type the email address of the EdCompass blog contact into the back channel, I'd appreciate it. So that way, if any of you.
John, so we used to have Sherry Lynn Sayre was the contact, and she actually left a couple of weeks ago. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
why
So I'm not really sure who would be the contact right now. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if they had a like an EdCompass blog email address, or
that's a great
because
question.
Sherry was the only one that I had ever visited with.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, oh look, Stacy Boudry, look at that, from Fort Bend. I think Kay Cole's on the phone, or on the webinar. Smart Response makes the grade in Sugar Land. So there's teachers that are posting. John, that's a great question. I'll find out and see if there is that resource,
Yeah.
and I can come back and add it.
Okay, terrific.
Okay.
Terrific. But this is just a terrific opportunity for smart users to share and to gain lots of smart tips and tricks. For example, Kristen Stroman, another summit attendee, showing the tip of how to use Activity Builder, and I've actually got an Activity Builder activity for you today that is underneath the Attachments tab. when you are looking at my lesson, if you download my presentation. Anyway, the last resource that I wanted to share with you, besides Twitter, is my website, and again, that is mrsmarttrainer.blogspot.com. Here's my post for today, and I'll have to take a look at that link to see if I can't get that fixed up. And actually, this is I just finished my first year blogging, and this was my first attempt, and I'm extremely proud of the fact that I had just short of 21,000 visitors over the past year. If you're not interested in reading any of my my posts, but you're interested in the resources itself, you can scroll all the way down, and on the right-hand side, it says Mr. Smart Trainer Resources, and any of these files will be a direct download of these games and activities. And before I show you these, I just wanted to really quickly show you in Twitter what the hashtags are that I use quite a bit, because this is one of the best ways to be aware of what's going on and who has good material. And so what I use most of the time are Smartboard, Smarty, which is the hashtag for Smart Exemplary Educators. So you get to hear from people that are really proficient users of the Smartboard. And the last one that I use quite often is Smart Tech, and that's anything from smart technologies. So any of those three hashtags ought to show you some pretty great websites and great materials for you to use in your classroom without having to reinvent the wheel. Now let's look at
John,
at some of the. Yes, ma'am.
I hate to cut you off, but it's 5 o'clock.
I know. Can I show one? I'll make it quick.
Okay, and you know what? Next month is going to be Make It and Take It, so maybe I'd like to invite you back and you can show them how you make your stuff as well.
Yeah,
so,
that sounds good.
Okay.
Very quickly, Activity Builder is a new feature of Notebook 11. It's very powerful. It gives you the opportunity to create content on one page only, rather than having to take the time to link from one page to another back and forth. And Heather, are you going to cover Activity Builder next time also?
Yes, or maybe you can.
Or has that already been covered?
No, I mean, not really.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Activity Builder is actually under the Add-ons tab on the left-hand side. You'll notice that that's a new tab in Notebook 11. And there is a short tutorial. If you go to Help Tutorial, that'll give you the opportunity to view a short page on how to get those to work. But this is a game that I made with Hunger Games being so popular this year. And basically, with this, you can have up to 8 different topics. And this first page is the editable template, and when you move the object to where it belongs, it soaks in. If you move it to the wrong place, it'll pop back. And so if you added your own content like parts of speech and edited all of these, this is what you would get. Let's see. So if I move grandma to verb, it would pop back because grandma is not a verb. It is a noun. And so this is a great way to level and layer and differentiate your instruction for your students. And let me go back to my contact page. If you have any questions, my Twitter handle is @JohnMeehan, JohnMeein. My email address is mrsmarttrainer@gmail.com. Thanks for having me, Heather.
Thanks, John. So next, I want to just be clear too, is next month we'll be doing the activity builder. So John, if you want to join, I would love to have you maybe share how you did that Hunger Games activity, because I think that was really cool. I hated to cut you off. But I think John said great resources, and if you have any questions, please email John and let him know. He's just a wealth of information, and good stuff happening in Mr. Smart Trainer's website. I wanted to real quick, because I know we're over, I wanted just to remind, I know Molly said they use Eduphoria, so I wanted to let you know that we have a webinar. You know, it's all about webinar and virtual learning. So if you use Eduphoria, you might want to join us Thursday, or you can register and then we can send out a follow-up with the link. But we are having another webinar. It's going to be a little bit different, but it is a webinar. There's a different registration and stuff. It's going to be Thursday from 4 to 5. We have Franz Davis and we have Jeff Peterson. Jeff has been using the Eduphoria connector, so there's a connector that actually will let you, answer those questions using that device. So that's happening on Thursday. What I need for you to do is, if you want the information, go ahead and email me and I will send you the link, and I will tweet it out and I'll put it into the today's meet as well, the registration information. So it's from 4 to 5. Quickly, don't forget about my digital dashboard. I did post about the Notebook 11. A lot of the things that John shared is in that yellow box. Don't forget about the Smart Exchange, and October 23rd is our next session. It will be a make it and take it, so John, I'd love for you to join back with us and share how you made that activity builder, because that's one of the things that we'll cover, and we'll also cover some Smart Ink ideas. So hopefully today, thanks for sticking out with us. If you joined us live, you will be getting an email with I send out certificates for everyone that's joined live, so just nothing that has TEA numbers, but just shows that you were spent the hour doing some great professional development. I hope that you find these of value. Go to my website to see the recordings, and the back channel will stay live, so if you need to catch some of that stuff, I'll post some other things. And I appreciate you each month joining us. Share this information with your friends, your colleagues that you work with. Take the information back and use it to watch the video and maybe do something with it. So please let me know if there's a topic that you would like to see us cover. I'm just kind of making guesses. Other things that people ask me questions. That's kind of how I build my agenda. But if there's something that John shared today or I shared, please let me know. And I look forward to seeing you on October 23rd from 4 to 5. We'll do a make it, take it. I'll actually probably send out an email prior to download some resources that we'll use to put together. So look forward to chatting with you, and also to seeing you virtually on our Smart Texas virtual webinar. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the week, and let me know how I can help you. Thanks a bunch.